Hello from Safonova. This is a podcast Pigeon of Peace where we do discuss awesome skills of troubleshooters. Watch, listen, and check the description below for the details. Let's talk about metrology and let's start with the definition.
When you construct any kind of machine, when you do construction of building, or for example, your home, you should measure everything, pipes and woods and concrete. So people have a need and they desire to create a technology how to measure everything. And it was called metrology. Metro, how to measure, and logy is a science. You know, the first rule when I learned metrology in Kiev Polytechnical Institute, it was after any kind of measurement, you spoil the object of measurement and also meaning of measurement.
Well, it's funny enough because one of the things that I do also remember you were telling us that one of the skills that this thing is not only applied to, I would say, analog or physical world, but actually, like could apply to digital. But probably if we have time, we'll speak about this one. But to be honest, like when I first look into this and was, like preparing for the skill, I was thinking, okay, like basically, why do you need metrology? Because you know the measurements, probably difference, you probably know how to approach to certain areas. So why exactly you do need that? So maybe we'll try to look into the complex part, like why exactly you need to build a framework so that you can use it as a tool in order to get the right calculations.
Okay, it's nice question. Why do we need measurement? Maybe the main reason is that everything in the world have a price. For example, when we talk each with other and we will create a file of recording, and this would maybe, I don't know, like 500 megabytes or something like this, and a lot of people will say, okay, but it's like emptiness, it's nothing. It has zero weight, but it's not true. The weight of internet, the weight of information, it could be measured. By the way, when we will speak about Descartes, we will understand that he was looking for a soul in the body, and his coordinates, his measurement were designed to find and to point soil. We couldn't find the soul in the body, but anyway, now we use those Descartes coordinates everywhere. For example, if I will tell you that on some x, y, z, there is a fly, you will immediately understand how it works. There are also another kind of coordinates, for example, for artillery. They have just angle and azimuth. So-called, I know how to say, конусные координаты, or цилиндрические, cylindric coordinates.
Conus or cylindric coordinates.
Thank you. Cylindric coordinates. So, for example, let's go to another area for our modern days. If you will create table in Excel, you will find that, for example, if you will make all borders bold, it would become slightly bigger. So you should have this in mind. And for example, when you will copy it and put in another application like PowerPoint or Word, you will find that length and width of this object is slightly bigger.
And well, actually, it's good that we're talking about the scale because at certain point in time, like we might be looking into millimeters or maybe microns, and maybe from another point of view, we might be looking into, let's say, like kilograms or something like that. So when we speak about scale, how do we approach of choosing, I would say, the right areas? Like, for example, if you want to make a table, let's probably stick to it. We just want to stick to centimeters. But let's say if we want to add like small features, for example, how long, like it should be not touching the wall or whatever, we actually will switch to millimeters. So what is I would say, the logic or the rules of switching, I would say, the order of the elements?
I will say two rules. First, the bigger size doesn't mean that you should have some special kind of rulers. You could use any kind of rules which contain 10,000 delimeters. Delimeters.
Millimeters.
Okay. And second rule, the harder materials, the more delimeters you should have. For example, maybe you would recall there is an experiment which was provided in the school. It was, I don't know how to solve, hole in something, for example, in the metallic or in the wood, and then we will take a sphere made from cuprum. It's okay to say медь, cuprum.
Or Cooper. is also good.
Cooper, yes, correct. It's much better, Cooper. And then we will try to go it inside, and it will go without any delay. But if we'll hit this Cooper, it wouldn't go because it would be, I don't know how to say, расширяться,
Extended.
because it would be extended. So you should understand the hardness of materials and also how many heat it could you could put inside.
Well, and I cannot not remember the tale of the Babylon Tower, because like different people speak different languages, and probably in the worlds of the metrology, more or less, I do believe when it comes to maybe like a strict science, it's also the measurement should be strict. But let's say in general numbers, we at least have a two systems, and I do believe if we probably travel a lot, we actually will collect even more systems. So how to be, I would say, with the translation, like when exactly use which one, and how to actually try to move one unit and convert them to another.
I have been just in two countries, USA and Eritrea, where I found those Fahrenheits, and it was quite funny when you stay in a hotel and you see those digits like 78 Fahrenheits, and it's quite strange. But you used to it maybe like 2 or 3 days. Yes, you couldn't understand any other measurements, but temperature, which would be in your room, it's quite understandable. There is a very severe, a very hard lesson world learned, I don't know, 2 decades ago. It was a flight, if I'm not mistaken, from England to Canada, and they were filled the fuel tank of the airplane, and they mixed the gallons and some other stuff, and in such case airplane was almost empty while trying to be landed. And after this occasion it was a huge discussion, and all airplane holding and leasing companies and also aerospace agencies of all countries were agreed to use just metric system in field of aerospace exploring. But yes, it was several attempts, by the way, even by Reagan themselves, to offer people maybe we will switch to the system which are used in whole the world, but it was complementary. It was not compulsory. So people refuses and they do not agree with him. And now we have, if I'm not mistaken, just 3 countries with this strange situation. But from other part of the board or of the table, our vis-a-vis also think that it is quite strange to use Celsius.
And if we actually, we'll try to look maybe into, I would say, like any science events. Like, for example, if we speak about electricity, there might be, well, again, like I will simplify it, might be different dimensions of how the things could be measured. Let's say, for example, if we speak about electricity, it should be like a power of it. It could be resistance. It could be, like the voltage itself. So now the question is like how deep the knowledge should be about certain matter, whether it's a speed, objects, or like maybe some like a chemical substances, in order to understand like how to measure it and then how to apply those measurements.
There is always you could find converters, and you could convert in any side Fahrenheit to Celsius or Celsius to Fahrenheit, miles to the kilometers or kilometers to the miles. By the way, in the miles we have two kind of miles: nautic miles and land miles. Nautic, it's correct name, but what about mile lines?
I do believe it's just like a standard mile, because nautic is
Standard mile.
exception.
Okay. So there is not a hard way how to make calculation, but yes, sometime you will hear something which is deeper. For example, we have I know how to say frequency in our electricity network is 50 frame per seconds, but in USA it would be 60. For example, even our web cameras, they have special, I don't know how to say, special switch or special radio button to switch from PAL to another SECAM system. And there is also difference, for example, in power supply. We use 220, and in USA it could be used like 127. And each country will declare that their electricity is much safer than others. By the way, the first people who were thinking about metrology, it was even not Greek, it was Rome Empire, because it tries to create roads, to create a lot of buildings and pipelines, aqueducts. So it was a need to make all over the empire the same kind of pipe and cranes and some other stuff.
And well, again, maybe now it's time to revert back to the first thing that you said, that sometimes when we measure something, we actually could be affecting the measurement. And again, like maybe let's say in the physical world, it might be not so noticeable unless the price or the cost of the mistake is like actually huge. For example, let's say if we want to build a starship, actually every gram or every millimeter matters. So how to approach of, I would say, creating and testifying and actually, like validating that the tools actually are legit for doing the measurements, and then maybe how to conduct another round of the audits to make sure they still are okay and the measures are intact.
The more items you will create, the less it would worry you. For example, if you would create, for example, like 1 million electric cars, then you have enough space to make experiments. For example, you could give like 10 to special cars testing, and they would be completely destroyed to see how they fit to regulational rules and something like this. But for example, if you're going to space, you couldn't build two starships because it is very expensive. So each part of the ship would be examined and measured separately and in different conditions, in quite cold situation, in quite hot, in hot and low pressure and high pressure, in hot, low pressure and high pressure. By the way, I have been to Звездный city. It's small territory close to the Moscow region, and there is a so-called astronautic camp for people who are prepared to fly to the moon. And there is a lot of different stuff which was created, but after some measurement, it was not allowed to be in the space.
And then my last question will be how knowing about metrology could help to make this world a better place.
It is maybe very sad to understand, but you should think about yourself like a packet of the juice. So you just stand on the shelf and people would come and will see, okay, this is Oleg, this is Maxim, how many sugars, how many weight, how is the color of the eyes, and we do not know what exactly would be measured. And there are a lot of people who are going to rot in the bed, and there is even a saying, bread rotting, that people are just laying in the bed and do nothing, just watch TV or play the games. And when they will show their bodies, for example, on the beach or in the office, everyone would understand that if they could not manage themselves, how they could not manage project, process and the monies. So we should use weights, веса. Правильно?
We
Напольная.
should use weights.
We should use ways, we should use some other measurement instrument to understand how good we are. For example, the same would be with our teeth,
Teeth.
with our teeth. If they are short, if they are yellow, everyone understands that we are old one, and you could be 10 years younger if you will correct them. The same would be with our haircuts. If your hair has some problems, if they have, I don't know how to say, white color, седой,
Or gray colors.
gray colors, yes, you also would be looking like an old man. So, for example, you could color them and to cheat some measurement which are installed in the people's head.
And we review the skill of metrology and how it could be helpful for you. Stay in peace.